What if we tell you that Black people are not confined to Africa, America, and Europe alone? In these 3 continents, you will find Black people who migrated from a single place, Africa. This happened relatively in the recent past, compared to the Black people living in continents and places like Asia, the Pacific, and Australia. But wait, do these places have Black people in the first place? Well, the answer is yes, because these are the places where you will find indigenous Black people. They migrated thousands of years ago from Africa and started inhabiting these places for the very first time. That's why they have facial features and traits quite different from Africans, yet they are Black people. So what are these tribes that inhabit Asia, the Pacific, and Australia? How do they live, and how did they begin to live there for the very first time? Welcome to a new episode of Black Afric Diary, a channel where we talk about Black African history, culture, arts, and civilization. It's a place where you will see the real picture of Black Africa, its stories, and the events defining it. In this episode, we will tell you about the beautiful and hidden tribes of Asia, the Pacific, and Australia. Let's get started. Number 1. Manique people of Thailand. The Manique people of Thailand are a small indigenous community living deep within the rainforests of southern Thailand, specifically in the provinces of Trang, Satun, and Phatthalung. As one of the last remaining nomadic hunter-gatherer societies in Southeast Asia, the Manique are part of a larger group known as the Negritos, or Semang people. These groups are among the earliest inhabitants of the region, offering a fascinating window into the ancient migratory patterns of early humans. The Manique are believed to be descendants of the first wave of human migration out of Africa, roughly 50,000 years ago. This early migration spread across Asia, leading to the formation of several indigenous groups, including the Manique. Their lineage connects them with other Negrito populations throughout Southeast Asia, such as the Andamanese in India, the Aita in the Philippines, and various groups in the Malay Peninsula. The Manique people are distinguished by their darker skin tones, ranging from deep brown to nearly black, a common trait among Negrito populations. They typically have curly hair and are shorter in stature compared to other Southeast Asian populations. These physical traits are believed to be adaptations to their environment, with their darker skin providing protection against the intense tropical sun and their smaller body size being advantageous for moving through the dense, humid jungles they call home. Traditionally, the Manique have lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers, a lifestyle that has enabled them to survive in the challenging environment of Thailand's rainforests. Their diet consists mainly of fruits, roots, and animals, which they hunt and gather using tools and techniques passed down through generations. The Manique possess extensive knowledge of the forest and its resources, which they rely on to sustain their way of life. Their social structure is typically egalitarian, with decisions made collectively by the group. They live in small, mobile communities, constructing temporary shelters from bamboo, leaves, and other natural materials found in the forest. These shelters are easily dismantled and relocated as the group moves in search of food and resources. The Manique's deep connection to the land and their sustainable lifestyle has allowed them to thrive in their environment for thousands of years. The Manique speak a language that belongs to the Aslian branch of the Austroasiatic language family, related to the languages spoken by other indigenous groups in the region. Their language is primarily oral, with no written form, and plays a crucial role in preserving their cultural heritage and traditional knowledge. Their belief system is animistic, meaning they believe that natural elements such as trees, rivers, and animals possess spirits. These beliefs are deeply connected with their daily lives and are reflected in their rituals and practices. The Maniques see themselves as an integral part of the natural world, and their spiritual beliefs emphasize the importance of maintaining harmony with nature. Number 2. Sri Lankan Kafirs. The Sri Lankan Kafirs are a unique and culturally significant community deeply rooted in Sri Lanka. They are descendants of African slaves brought to the island by Portuguese colonizers in the 16th century. Over time, the Kafirs have developed a distinct identity, blending African, Portuguese, and Sri Lankan influences, which has made them an integral part of the island's diverse cultural landscape. The Sri Lankan Kafirs trace their ancestry to the Bantu-speaking regions of East Africa, including present-day Mozambique, Tanzania, and parts of South Africa. During the Portuguese colonial era, Africans were transported to Sri Lanka, then called Ceylon, to serve as laborers, soldiers, and domestic workers. These individuals were called kafirs by the Portuguese, a term originally derived from the Arabic word kafir, meaning non-believer. But later, this term was used to describe people of African descent. As they integrated with the local population, the Kafirs intermarried with Sinhalese, Tamil, and Moor communities, creating a rich blend of cultural and genetic heritage. Despite this assimilation, they have retained elements of their African ancestry, particularly evident in their physical appearance, language, music, and dance. Sri Lankan Kafirs are often recognized by their darker skin tones, which range from deep brown to black. They typically have curly hair, broad noses, and other features that reflect their African heritage. These physical traits have been passed down through generations. The lifestyle of the Sri Lankan Kafirs has evolved over centuries, shaped by their adaptation and integration into Sri Lankan society. Historically, they lived in small, close-knit communities, often in rural areas where they could maintain some of their traditional practices. However, over time, many Kafirs have moved to urban areas, engaging in various occupations such as agriculture and service industries. One of the most distinctive aspects of Kafir culture is their music and dance, known as Kafirinha. This lively and rhythmic music style, played with drums, sticks, and other percussion instruments, is a fusion of African beats with Portuguese and Sri Lankan influences. Kafirinha dance is vibrant and communal, often performed during celebrations and gatherings. The songs, usually in a Creole language that blends Portuguese with Sinhala and Tamil, reflect the multicultural heritage of the community. Despite the influence of surrounding cultures, the Kafirs have preserved some traditional customs. They celebrate both African and Sri Lankan festivals, and their cuisine reflects a blend of African, Portuguese, and local flavors, showcasing their rich cultural fusion. Over the centuries, the original African languages spoken by the Kafirs have largely faded. Today, most Kafirs speak Sinhala and Tamil, the two dominant languages in Sri Lanka. However, Portuguese Creole, once spoken by their ancestors, can still be found in their music and among some of the older community members. In terms of religion, the Kafirs have largely adopted the faiths of the local population. Many Kafirs are Roman Catholics, a legacy of Portuguese influence, while others practice Buddhism, Hinduism, or Islam, depending on the region where they live. Number 3. Moluccans, people of Indonesia. The Moluccans are an indigenous people native to the Maluku Islands in eastern Indonesia, a region called the Spice Islands due to its historical significance as a major source of spices like cloves and nutmeg. The Moluccans have a rich and diverse cultural heritage that is deeply connected to the broader histories of Southeast Asia and the Pacific. The Moluccans are believed to be descendants of Austronesian-speaking peoples who migrated from Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands thousands of years ago. These early settlers brought with them rich cultural traditions, including advanced skills in navigation, fishing, and agriculture. Due to their strategic location along major trade routes, the Moluccans were influenced by various cultures over the centuries, resulting in a complex combination of Austronesian, Papuan, and Southeast Asian genetic markers. Historically, the Maluku Islands were a crossroads for many different cultures and ethnicities because of their central role in the global spice trade. Traders from China, India, the Middle East, and Europe all passed through the islands, leaving a lasting impact on the local population. This historical blending of cultures has contributed to the diverse practices and mixed ancestry of the Moluccan people. The physical appearance of the Moluccans reflects their mixed heritage. Many Moluccans have darker skin tones, ranging from deep brown to lighter shades, a result of the blending of Austronesian, Papuan, and Southeast Asian ancestries over the centuries. They often have curly hair, and their facial features can display a combination of the various ethnic influences that have shaped their region. Traditionally, the Moluccans have lived in coastal and island communities, with their way of life centered around the sea. Fishing has long been a cornerstone of their livelihood, and their deep knowledge of the ocean is a key aspect of their culture. In addition to fishing, Moluccans are known for their agricultural practices, particularly the cultivation of spices like cloves and nutmeg, which have been historically important to the region. Moluccan society is characterized by a strong sense of community and social cohesion. They typically live in villages organized around clans or extended families, where communal activities and ceremonies are central to daily life. Traditional Moluccan houses, known as rumah adat, are constructed from natural materials like bamboo and thatch, designed to accommodate large family gatherings and communal living. Culturally, the Moluccans have a rich tradition of music, dance, and storytelling. Their traditional music often features the tifa, a type of drum, and their dances are expressive and symbolic, commonly performed during ceremonies and festivals. The Moluccans also maintain a strong oral tradition, with stories and myths passed down through generations that reflect their deep connection to their ancestors and the natural world. The Moluccans speak a variety of languages, reflecting the linguistic diversity of the region. The most widely spoken language group in the Maluku Islands is Malayo-Polynesian, which is part of the Austronesian language family. However, there are also many local dialects and languages unique to specific islands or communities within the Moluccas. In terms of religion, the Moluccans practice a blend of traditional beliefs and world religions. Christianity, particularly Protestantism, is widely practiced in the central and southern Maluku Islands, a legacy of Dutch colonial influence. Traditional animistic beliefs, which emphasize the spiritual significance of nature and ancestral worship, are also respected in many communities. In the northern Maluku Islands, Islam is practiced, reflecting the influence of earlier traders and settlers from the Middle East and Southeast Asia. Number 4. Semang and Batek. People of Malaysia. The Semang and Batek peoples are indigenous ethnic groups native to Malaysia, renowned for their distinctive cultural practices and deep historical roots in the region. Often categorized under the broader term Negritos, they are among the earliest known inhabitants of Southeast Asia. Their unique lifestyles, physical characteristics, and cultural heritage provide a fascinating glimpse into the hidden black tribes that exist far beyond Africa. The Semang and Batek peoples are believed to be descendants of the first wave of human migration out of Africa, approximately 50,000 years ago. These early human populations traveled across Asia, eventually settling in the Malay Peninsula. As part of the larger Negrito group, which includes similar populations in the Philippines, Thailand, and the Andaman Islands, the Semang and Batek are genetically distinct from the later Austronesian and other populations that migrated to Southeast Asia. This highlights their ancient lineage and long-standing presence in the region. The Semang and Batek people are distinguished by their unique physical features, including darker skin tones that range from deep brown to nearly black. They typically have curly hair, broad noses, and a shorter stature compared to other Southeast Asian populations. These traits, consistent with other Negrito groups, are believed to be adaptations to their tropical rainforest environment. Traditionally, the Semang and Batek have lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers, a lifestyle that has enabled them to thrive in Malaysia's challenging rainforest environments. They rely heavily on the forest for their subsistence, hunting wild game, gathering fruits, roots, and other forest products, and fishing in rivers and streams. This deep knowledge of the forest and its resources is passed down through generations, allowing them to live sustainably in their environment. Their social structure is egalitarian, with decisions made collectively by the group. They live in small, mobile communities, frequently relocating in search of food and resources. Their shelters, made from natural materials like bamboo, leaves, and rattan, are designed to be easily dismantled and rebuilt as they move. This nomadic lifestyle allows them to adapt to the changing seasons and the availability of resources in their environment. Culturally, the Semang and Batek have a rich tradition of music, dance, and storytelling. Their songs and dances, often performed during communal gatherings, are deeply connected to their spiritual beliefs and their relationship with nature. They also maintain a strong oral tradition, with stories and myths that explain the origins of their people, the natural world, and their place within it. The Semang and Batek speak languages that belong to the Aslian branch of the Austroasiatic language family, which is shared by other indigenous groups in the region. These languages are primarily oral, with no written form, playing a crucial role in preserving their cultural heritage and traditional knowledge. Their belief systems are animistic, meaning they believe that natural elements such as trees, rivers, and animals possess spirits. These beliefs are deeply connected with their daily lives and are reflected in their rituals and practices. The Semang and Batek see themselves as an integral part of the natural world, and their spiritual beliefs emphasize the importance of maintaining harmony with nature. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black Africa. Let's continue now. Number 5. Kanak people of New Caledonia. The Kanak people are the indigenous inhabitants of New Caledonia, a French territory in the South Pacific. As the original settlers of this archipelago, the Kanak have nurtured a rich cultural heritage and maintain a deep connection to their land, which they have inhabited for thousands of years. The Kanak stands out as a unique community that has preserved its distinct identity and traditions despite the challenges of colonization and modernization. Interestingly, the Kanak trace their ancestry to the Lapita culture, a prehistoric Pacific Ocean civilization known for its exceptional navigation and pottery-making skills. Around 3,000 years ago, the Lapita people migrated from Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific, spreading across the islands of Melanesia, including New Caledonia. This migration laid the foundation for the Kanak people's ancestry and cultural practices. Over time, the Kanak developed a complex society independently, which was deeply rooted in their land and community. They established villages, cultivated crops, and created social structures that were closely connected to their environment. Therefore, their long-standing presence in New Caledonia, combined with their distinct cultural traditions, makes them one of the oldest continuous cultures in the Pacific. However, their facial features and traits connect them with Africa. The Kanak are typically characterized by darker skin tones, ranging from deep brown to black, which is common among Melanesian populations. They often have curly hair, broad noses, and strong facial features that reflect their Australo-Melanesian ancestry. These physical traits are shared with other indigenous groups in Melanesia and highlight the Kanak people's deep-rooted connection to their region. As for the Kanak lifestyle, it is traditionally centered on communal living and a deep respect for the land and natural resources. Historically, they lived in small villages organized around extended families or clans, each with its own land, customs, and leadership. It's because the Kanak practice a subsistence-based lifestyle, relying on agriculture, fishing, and hunting to sustain themselves. They cultivate crops such as yams, taro, and sweet potatoes, and their diet is supplemented by fish and other seafood from the surrounding ocean. Kanak society places a strong emphasis on community and mutual support, with cultural values that prioritize sharing and collective responsibility. Traditional Kanak houses, known as grande case, are round, thatched structures built from local materials like wood, bamboo, and palm leaves. These houses are not only dwellings, but also significant cultural symbols, representing the unity and continuity of the Kanak people. Culturally, the Kanak people have a rich tradition of oral storytelling, music, and dance. Their stories, passed down through generations, often focus on the creation of the world, the origins of their people, and their relationship with the natural environment. Music and dance are integral to Kanak ceremonies and celebrations, with traditional instruments like the bamboo flute and slit drum playing central roles in their performances. As for the language, the Kanak speak a variety of languages, with over 28 indigenous languages still in use today, reflecting the linguistic diversity of New Caledonia. These languages belong to the Oceanic branch of the Austronesian language family and are primarily oral, with traditions and knowledge passed down through generations. In terms of religion, the Kanak practice a combination of traditional animistic beliefs and Christianity. Their traditional spirituality is deeply connected to the land, ancestors, and natural elements, with a strong belief in the presence of spirits in their environment. Rituals and ceremonies are often held to honor ancestors, seek protection, and maintain harmony with nature. Christianity was introduced during the colonial period, and today many Kanak people identify as Christian, often integrating their traditional beliefs with Christian practices. Number 6. Black tribes of southern Yemen, including Hadrami, Shabwa, and Socotra Island people. The Hadrami, Shabwa, and Socotra Island communities are the black tribes living in southern Yemen. Over centuries, African, Arabian, and South Asian cultures have influenced these tribes, creating a unique heritage. The origins of these tribes trace back to ancient migration and trade routes connecting Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, and South Asia. The Hadrami people, for instance, have a long history of interaction with East Africa due to the proximity of the Hadramaut region to the African coast. This historical exchange led to a blending of African and Arab ancestries. Similarly, the Shabwa people, who reside in the arid and mountainous Shabwa Governorate, reflect a mix of African and Arabian heritage. On Socotra Island, the Socotra people possess a distinct genetic makeup that includes African, Arabian, and South Asian influences. The island's strategic location along ancient maritime trade routes facilitated the mixing of diverse populations over thousands of years. It is believed that the black people of Socotra may be descendants of East African migrants who crossed the Indian Ocean centuries ago, adding to the island's unique genetic diversity. Due to the unique location, these black tribes of southern Yemen have distinctive physical traits that differ greatly even among themselves. The black tribes of southern Yemen are often characterized by their darker skin tones, which range from deep brown to black. The Hadrami and Shabwa people, in particular, display physical traits similar to African populations, such as curly hair, broad noses, and other features that show their African ancestry. The Socotra people also have darker skin tones, but their physical traits reflect a combination of influences from African, Arabian, and South Asian populations, highlighting their diverse genetic heritage. However, it's the lifestyle of these tribes that makes them even more unique. The lifestyles of these tribes vary based on their geographical location and environment. The Hadrami people have traditionally been known as traders, scholars, and seafarers. The Hadramaut region's long history of trade with East Africa, India, and Southeast Asia has deeply influenced Hadrami culture and economy. Many Hadramis have also migrated to other parts of the Arab world, East Africa, and Southeast Asia, forming diaspora communities that maintain strong ties to their homeland. The Shabwa people, living in a harsher, more rugged region, have historically engaged in agriculture, herding, and small-scale trade. Their way of life is closely tied to the land, with a deep understanding of the local environment and its resources. Shabwa culture is heavily influenced by strong tribal traditions and social structures rooted in Arabian heritage. On Socotra Island, the Socotra people have developed a way of life uniquely adapted to the island's isolation and challenging environment. They engage in subsistence farming, fishing, and herding, relying on the island's limited natural resources. The Socotri culture is rich in oral traditions, with a strong emphasis on poetry, storytelling, and folklore. The Socotri language, distinct from Arabic, is a vital part of their cultural identity and has been preserved despite the island's exposure to external influences. Number 7. Aboriginal Australians. Impressively, Aboriginal Australians are the indigenous people of Australia, recognized as one of the oldest continuous cultures on Earth. Their presence on the Australian continent dates back tens of thousands of years, with estimates suggesting they have lived there for over 65,000 years. Aboriginal Australians are believed to descend from the first human populations that migrated out of Africa around 70,000 years ago. These early humans made their way across Asia and eventually reached the Australian continent, likely using land bridges and short sea crossings available during the Ice Age. Over time, these populations spread across Australia, adapting to the continent's diverse environments, from lush rainforests to arid deserts. Genetic studies have revealed that Aboriginal Australians possess a unique genetic lineage, distinct from other populations, showing their ancient and isolated ancestry. Their connection to the land is both spiritual and cultural, with a continuous presence that predates the arrival of other populations by tens of thousands of years. All this gives the Aboriginal Australians distinctive physical features. They are typically recognized by their darker skin tones, ranging from deep brown to nearly black. They often have broad noses, dark hair that is curly, and other features that reflect their ancient lineage. These physical traits are adaptations to Australia's harsh environmental conditions, particularly the intense sun and dry climate found in many regions of the continent. As for their lifestyle, traditionally, Aboriginal Australians lived as hunter-gatherers, with a lifestyle deeply connected to the land and its resources. Their way of life was closely tied to the environment, with a deep understanding of the land, plants, animals, and seasonal cycles. They used this knowledge to hunt game, gather edible plants, and fish in rivers and seas. Aboriginal Australians were also known for their use of fire in land management, a practice known as fire stick farming, which helped manage vegetation and create habitats for game animals. Aboriginal society was organized into clans or family groups, each with its own territory, language, and cultural practices. These groups were united by a complex system of kinship, law, and spiritual beliefs, collectively known as the Dreamtime or dreaming. The Dreamtime is a cornerstone of Aboriginal culture, including creation stories, spiritual beliefs, and the laws that govern their way of life. It is a deeply spiritual concept that connects them to their ancestors, the land, and the natural world. Art, music, and dance are integral to Aboriginal culture, serving as expressions of their spiritual beliefs and connections to the land. Aboriginal art, particularly dot painting and rock art, is renowned worldwide for its beauty and symbolism, often depicting stories from the Dreamtime. Music featuring instruments like the didgeridoo and traditional dances are performed during ceremonies and celebrations, reinforcing cultural ties and passing down traditions through generations. Number 8. Negrito People of Southeast Asia and the Philippines. The Negrito people are indigenous communities spread across Southeast Asia and the Philippines, known for their distinct physical features, ancient ancestry, and rich cultural traditions. As one of the oldest continuous populations in the region, their presence extends back tens of thousands of years. The Negrito people are believed to be descendants of the first wave of modern humans that migrated out of Africa around 70,000 years ago. These early humans traveled across the Indian subcontinent and eventually settled in the islands now known as the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, and the Andaman Islands. The Negritos established themselves in these regions long before the arrival of other populations, such as the Austronesians. Genetic research shows that Negrito populations are among the most ancient and isolated groups in Southeast Asia. Their genetic lineage is distinct from other regional populations, highlighting their long-standing presence and limited intermixing with later migrants. This ancient ancestry connects the Negrito people to the broader history of early human migration out of Africa. Therefore, Negrito people are typically recognized by their darker skin tones, which range from deep brown to nearly black. They often have curly hair, broad noses, and a shorter stature compared to other Southeast Asian populations. These physical traits reflect their shared ancient ancestry. The term Negrito, meaning little black people in Spanish, was historically used by European colonizers to describe these communities because of their physical resemblance to African groups. Traditionally, the Negrito people have lived as hunter-gatherers, thriving in the dense tropical forests of Southeast Asia and the Philippines. Their diet consists of wild game, fruits, roots, and other forest products, which they hunt and gather using tools and techniques passed down through generations. This lifestyle is deeply connected with their environment, and they possess a profound understanding of the forest and its resources. As for the social structure, Negrito communities are typically organized into small, mobile groups that move frequently within their traditional territories. Their social structure is egalitarian, with decisions made collectively by the group. They build temporary shelters from bamboo, leaves, and other natural materials, which are easily dismantled and relocated as they move in search of food and resources. Culturally, the Negritos have a rich tradition of music, dance, and oral storytelling. Their songs and dances are often performed during communal gatherings and are deeply connected to their spiritual beliefs and relationship with nature. These cultural practices have been preserved for millennia, even as Negrito communities have interacted with other populations in the region. As for the language, the Negrito people speak a variety of languages, many of which belong to the Austroasiatic or Austronesian language families. These languages are primarily oral, with no written form, playing a crucial role in preserving the cultural heritage and traditional knowledge of Negrito communities. In terms of religious beliefs, Negrito people are often animistic, believing that natural elements like trees, rivers, and animals possess spirits. These beliefs are deeply embedded in their daily lives and are reflected in their rituals and practices. Negritos see themselves as an integral part of the natural world, and their spiritual beliefs emphasize the importance of maintaining harmony with nature. Number 9. Pacific Islanders, including Melanesians and Solomon Islanders. Pacific Islanders represent a range of indigenous communities spread across the vast Pacific Ocean. Among them, the Melanesians and Solomon Islanders stand out for their unique cultures, rich histories, and distinctive physical features. Interestingly, Melanesians, including the Solomon Islanders, are believed to be descendants of the first human populations that migrated out of Africa approximately 70,000 years ago. These early humans journeyed through Asia and eventually reached the Pacific Islands, including the region known today as Melanesia, which includes countries like Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Vanuatu, and the Solomon Islands. Melanesians are thought to have settled in these areas as early as 50,000 years ago, making them one of the oldest continuous populations in the Pacific. Genetic research has shown that Melanesians possess a unique genetic makeup that sets them apart from other Pacific Islanders, such as Polynesians and Micronesians. This genetic diversity is largely due to the long periods of isolation that Melanesians experienced on their islands, allowing them to maintain a distinct lineage with minimal intermixing from later populations. Their ancestry links them to the broader history of early human migration out of Africa and into some of the most remote parts of the world. Therefore, Melanesians, including Solomon Islanders, are often recognized by their darker skin tones, which range from deep brown to nearly black. They typically have curly hair, broad noses, and strong facial features that reflect their ancient Australo-Melanesian roots. These physical traits are adaptations to the tropical environments of the Pacific Islands, where intense sunlight and hot climates are prevalent. Their darker skin tones and other features bear a striking resemblance to those of African populations, highlighting their shared ancient lineage. The lifestyle of Melanesians and Solomon Islanders is closely connected to the land and sea, with communities traditionally relying on subsistence farming, fishing, and hunting. However, not all of them live in rural areas following their traditional lifestyles. But those who do hold agriculture important in their daily lives, with crops like yams, taro, sweet potatoes, and coconuts forming the staples of their diet. Fishing is also crucial, as the abundant marine resources around the islands provide a vital source of protein. Melanesian society is typically organized into clans or extended families, with a strong emphasis on community and mutual support. Traditional villages often consist of thatched houses made from local materials like wood, bamboo, and palm leaves. These villages serve not only as homes, but also as cultural hubs where ceremonies, rituals, and social gatherings take place. Culturally, Melanesians have a rich tradition of art, music, and dance. Melanesian art is often deeply symbolic, with carvings, masks, and other artifacts playing significant roles in religious and social rituals. Music and dance are integral to their culture, with traditional instruments like drums, bamboo flutes, and slit drums used in various ceremonies and celebrations. Storytelling is also a vital part of their heritage, with myths, legends, and oral histories passed down through generations. Traditionally, Melanesians practiced animism, believing in the spiritual significance of nature and the presence of ancestral spirits. These beliefs are deeply woven into their cultural practices and rituals, often involving offerings, sacrifices, and ceremonies to honor spirits and seek their protection. However, with the arrival of European colonizers and missionaries, Christianity was introduced, and today, many Melanesians identify as Christian. However, traditional beliefs and practices often coexist with Christian worship, creating a unique blend of religious traditions. Number 10. Papuans of Papua New Guinea and West Papua. Papuans are believed to be descendants of some of the earliest human populations that migrated out of Africa around 70,000 years ago. These early humans traveled through Asia and eventually settled in the Pacific region, including the island of New Guinea, which is now divided into Papua New Guinea and West Papua. This migration occurred long before the Austronesian-speaking peoples arrived in the Pacific, making the Papuans one of the oldest continuous populations in the region. Genetic studies reveal that Papuans have a unique genetic makeup distinct from other Southeast Asian and Pacific populations. Their isolation on the island of New Guinea has allowed them to maintain a distinct lineage with minimal intermixing from later migrant groups. This ancient ancestry connects Papuans to the early history of human migration and adaptation across diverse environments. As for the physical traits, Papuans are often recognized for their darker skin tones, which range from deep brown to nearly black. They typically have frizzy hair, broad noses, and strong facial features like the ancient Australo-Melanesian roots. However, diversity exists even among the people living in different regions of Papua New Guinea. Traditionally, Papuans have lived as subsistence farmers, hunters, and gatherers, deeply connected to the land and its resources. Agriculture is central to their way of life, with crops like sweet potatoes, taro, bananas, and sago forming the staples of their diet. The fertile highlands of Papua New Guinea are particularly known for advanced agricultural practices that date back thousands of years, marking them as some of the earliest known agricultural societies. Hunting and gathering also play a significant role in Papuan life, with communities relying on the forest and rivers for wild game, fish, and other resources. The dense rainforests and rugged terrain of New Guinea have shaped a way of life that fosters a deep connection to the land. Have you ever met Black people from these lands and seen their lifestyle? Isn't it true that all people living all around the world originated from Africa and then evolved according to their environment? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on why these beautiful Black tribes were kept hidden and whether there might be other Black tribes in far-flung places we don't know about. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on Black Africa, its history, rich arts and culture, and things the world should know about. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.